Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Morale Booster with John Ughulu. I hope all the listeners out there are doing well. I am sending love from Atlanta. Today's guest is a very interesting person. Her name is Shana Trimble. Shana and I will be talking about marriage and family because you know why? She is a marriage and family therapist. So we're going to talk about the intricacies of marriage and relationships in general. So Shana, thank you for joining me on the program.
Thank you for having me, John.
My pleasure. So like I said, we will be discussing the intricacies of marriage and family in general. You are a therapist. I see you are also a speaker.
I am.
So, yes, a keynote speaker. So I believe you will be able to spark the fire in the listeners today. All right. Okay, so Shana, tell us a little about yourself. Who is Shana and what does Shana do?
Oh, wow. Well, I am, like you stated, a marriage and family therapist. I've been practicing in this therapy world for approximately 5 years or more. Prior to that, I was doing coaching and working as a HR director. So I took a hiatus and felt like I was missing on my calling, something that was just nagging me to death. So I decided to actually go ahead and pursue that, and it seems to be a good fit. It's definitely something that I feel like I should have been doing, and now that I'm doing it, it's working out. Yeah, so that's me in a nutshell a little bit.
Okay, that's a nice one. You know, there's no better feeling than aligning with your passion, something
Yes.
you are passionate about.
Yes.
That's true. So, but how has it been so far? You know, do you enjoy the naggings you hear from your clients? You know, is it fun to listen to people nag and, you know, tell you stories that you might not necessarily be interested in? How is it?
Well, I will say this. I think from just me being an open type of intriguing, always wanting to know, always wanting to learn type of person, I find that the stories are not so nagging, actually,
Okay.
but more informing.
Right.
And I think from those stories, it tells a lot about people. You know, it definitely shares a lot about their mindsets, how they see life, you know, based on experience and things of that nature.
Right.
But I think the ultimate thing is what I enjoy the most is actually being able to help them through that process. Definitely give a different perspective or help open their minds, right?
Right.
To just how life has so many spectrums to it. It's just not one line type of journey.
All right. That's true. That's a good one. Okay, so from your experience as a therapist, what is the major cause of breakups in couples that you've experienced or worked with?
Oh, wow. We can definitely look at that list, but there are some things that kind of weigh the same, right? So, of course, infidelity would be at the height of that list.
Yes.
And of course, parallel to that is finances.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so differences in finances. And then everything else kind of trickles down after that. So just to be able to agree on parenting, if we're somehow a blended family now, right?
Right.
Just mutual differences about how life should go. And then the inability to be able to effectively blend two individuals to make them one unit.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a difficult thing, actually.
Yeah, especially when they're coming from two different backgrounds.
Especially. So often people say, oh, you know, opposites attract. They do attract, but that doesn't mean they necessarily work.
That's true. They have to put in the work.
They have to put in the work.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so when you say finance is a major problem or causes serious issues, now, are you talking about misappropriation of finance, or you're talking about lack of finance, or, you know, which one do you think
has the most weight?
exactly?
Well, they actually kind of all have an equal weight. There's a couple of things that I'll pinpoint is you have the just the misuse of finance, where one is more lackadaisical, you'll say, more free, not necessarily as responsible with finances, that causes issues for the other one. So that's a hard place to be in. Sometimes it's the lack of financing, the finances that cause a level of stress. So whether you have one person who may be possibly working, the other person is not, and the person that's not is not necessarily really caring about, bringing in any income, then of course that's a problem, right? And then we see the difference in income when it comes to how it kind of controls the relationship. Right. If finances control the relationship, and how the dynamics of a relationship may change if those finances change. So, to be specific, is when we think about women, right? The role of a woman in a household and what she contributes to the table. Sometimes if that begins to change.
And it always changes.
It does. Then, of course, the roles are somehow scrambled as far as what the couple thinks the finances do. And unfortunately, sometimes the finances actually make a person the leader or the head of the household, per se, and I put those in quotes. So if that changes, then, the roles begin to, or they think the roles should be reversed.
Yeah, ego kinds of creep in.
Yes.
Yeah, especially when the man is not the one providing.
Right.
Yeah, I think women can bear such a situation longer than men. Yeah. When a man feels, the woman is now the breadwinner, the ego is always there.
Yes, the ego.
So I get you on that. Yeah. That makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a nice one. To my listeners out there, I hope you guys are paying attention, because little things like this, they do matter. They do matter.
They do.
So at times it could cost you a fortune to have a therapist tell you such things.
Yeah.
So just take this as an opportunity to learn one or two things that would help you in your relationship. We are not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but a constant reminder is all we need to, sit up and step up our game. Thank you, Shana, for that tip.
Yes.
Okay, so, what is the most flimsy excuse for breakups you've dealt with?
Oh my goodness. And I always find this very funny, and it seems to be something that was common knowledge, something that I wasn't aware of course. Being married, I think I've been married, been with my husband 28 years now.
You've been married 28 years?
I've been with my husband 28 years. We've been married 22. So, yeah, 22 years.
Really?
Married. Yes, I have 3 grown children. Yes.
Wow. You don't look it at all.
Well, thank you. I will take that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So it was puzzling to me that I found out that people break up due to holidays, not wanting to buy gifts.
Oh. Something as simple as that. Wow.
Something as simple as that will cause people, they either don't want to intertwine people into their family lives, like around Christmas and things of that nature, or they don't want to buy holiday gifts around Valentine's Day and solidify probably relationships that maybe they wasn't really ready to take to the next level. Right. And so I was like, wow, instead of just explaining that, right?
Yeah.
Versus the whole breakup. So we break it up, and maybe I'll call you in a few weeks after it's over. So I thought that was interesting.
Wow. That is actually interesting. And if you're listening right now, if Shana is speaking to someone out there, I want you to have a rethink, because you could end your marriage. You could see it as a small thing, but it could lead to a disaster.
Yeah.
I know you're speaking to someone's soul and heart right now. It's all right. That's nice, Shana. That's a good one. Okay, so let's go to the next question I would want to ask. So what should people look out for before getting married? At least you've been in marriage for over 2 decades. You're going to the 3rd decade now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say, John, to be honest with you, I teach my premarital couples as well as my couples, right? Especially when you're in the dating phase, that the dating phase is the business phase of the relationship. Okay. And I believe that that's when all the business, the details, the core of everything that you need, everything that you want, everything that you're looking for, that is when those things are supposed to be discussed. Okay. So a lot of times we miss over some of the more important details because we're into that, oh, I really like this person, or I'm having all the feelings of euphoria, right? So I jump over because I feel so good that I lack speaking about or talking about the things that don't make me feel good, because we don't want to like mess anything up, right? But I so encourage that they talk about those things, because if we kind of go ahead and talk about them right now, then I can feel that feeling of euphoria long into our future, right? But if I don't, there's a possibility I'll have so many breaks of times where I'm broken, or I'm disgusted at the choice, or I'm resentful because I didn't talk about these things. And so I think that is very important during the dating phase, that we get, okay, I don't want this, or these are my boundaries, or these are my red buttons that if you touch them or if you somehow activate them, then we probably won't be together. So, and it opens up and give people an opportunity, the person I'm dating, to say, I can do those things, or I cannot do those things. And then we come to a mutual agreement, whether we just dating for fun at that point, or if we're still dating to somehow for a long-term relationship.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, because, I have also come to realize that a lot of people take those little things for granted, especially the guys.
Yeah.
Guys at times just feel they need to talk just to win the woman, just to win the lady's heart.
Right.
But I think they all seem to forget that these ladies pay attention to details. Like everything you tell them, it has to be so.
Yeah, we're taking
right. And if there would be any reason for you to change, put it on the table. Let's know that reason that would cause, the ladies like details.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And then we assume a lot, right? So I think that's part of a downfall when we're dating, is that he's making me feel good now, or she's making me feel good now, so I assume that this will continue, right?
Exactly.
Or that I assume that based on how this person behaves, that they're a family-oriented person, right? But yet we never talked about it. So then now when the time hits when the ceiling hits the fan, we're like, oh, he or she may be like, I don't even like kids. Right. So, it's those details, when you see your life and how you want it to be, you want to be able to incorporate someone that has those same thoughts, feelings, emotions, those goals. It's important.
Right. It is. Absolutely. So what do you think about, guys taking it to a new level of having a list of things they would like to discuss with the ladies prior to taking the relationship to the next level?
I always say, look at what you want, like not long term, right? So what's the reason? What are the reasons why you're dating? Right. So if you're dating for purpose, right, then that's something that needs to be said, because that is an introduction to long term, right? So if
Right.
you say, you know, I'm just dating because I just want to have some fun, that's one thing. So, but if you're dating for purpose, a woman needs to know that.
Yes.
Because we assume a lot that women are always dating for purpose.
Yes.
But that is not the case.
Well, I'll let you say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah, that's not always the case. So we do
Okay.
have, you know, we are diverse,
Right.
even in being women. Not all of us are looking to settle down. Not all of us are looking to be a wife. Not all of us are looking to be a mother. So when you take that in consideration, then you have to be able to say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And then as you proceed, then you tell us what you're looking for. Be honest, be open.
Right.
Be vulnerable, which is something that's very difficult to be, you
Yes.
know? So though it's just being able to educate someone on all the details, not just the ones you feel will actually get someone's attention, but the actual ones that will actually keep their attention.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So if you're listening right now, what she's saying is, especially to the guys, you have to be intentional. You know, you have to be upfront. Let the lady know what exactly you are looking for.
Yes.
If it's something she is interested in, she would let you know. There's no point trying to deceive someone, and at the end of the day, you know, you expect what you didn't tell the person.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Am I right, Shana?
It does not. It doesn't.
Absolutely. That's a good
right.
one. Okay, so there's another interesting topic I want us to touch, and this is about divorce.
Okay.
Should every serious misconduct lead to a divorce?
Okay, so basically it goes back to those red buttons, right? That we kind of discussed earlier. So understanding what those are, right? So of course every circumstance, every misconduct will apply different to every relationship, right? So it can't really end, it won't end in divorce for everyone, right? And so as hard or as tough as it is to listen to, some people stay with what they think is not that big of a deal for them, right? But for the next couple, it is extremely.
It might be a big deal, right?
Right. So it's really establishing what is a big deal for you. So to answer your question, yeah, of course not. Every serious misconduct or just conduct period will not end in divorce. Misconduct will not end in divorce, but it's all dictated by the relationship.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say no.
Okay. Yeah. So there are people out there who still don't understand the importance of having a therapist.
Okay.
You know, they feel they know everything. So I know there's so many of them listening to this program right now. So how can we let them know that there is something special about having a therapist?
Well, I would say, of course, being a therapist, that I came from a background that believed what you're saying, that therapy was not necessarily something that was needed, that was useful. It was something that when the issues came to the table, it was something that you kept in your home, that you with, amongst yourselves. But of course, coming into this field and growing up and having seen things that needed a second eye, right? It definitely opened up my mind to therapy, which ultimately, of course, led me to be a therapist. But therapy is the third eye, right? So it is about being non-judgmental. It's about getting a different perspective. That because sometimes how life has been to us, whether it's through experiences or based on emotions that we're having, we get locked in to how we feel about things, how we see things, how things we think how it must go. But what happens with therapy, it's more of an educational process that allows you to open your mind to different ideas, to different ways that you can resolve an issue. It gives a forefront where people can talk and actually be heard.
Exactly.
In a safe place where it's okay to actually say what you've been holding in and to be able to buffer it, right? So that the person receiving the information doesn't always feel attacked. And so that's what therapy does. It just opens up that free highway for people to be able to bring things to the table and deal with them so that they don't affect them long term. So I definitely encourage it where there's issues that are constantly being repeated.
Right. And you know, the challenge with a lot of people who have that mindset is that they feel it's better for them to look for a very close friend who they can trust, who they can rely on that person's advice. But, you know, they still don't seem to understand that having a professional guide you is different. So how can we differentiate, you know, relying on a friend to help in times of crisis and using a therapist?
Okay, well, there's two things. So basically, that's building a support system. So your friend is there to offer you kind of the support based on what they think you need.
Yes.
Right? How they feel about the situation. It also is very personal, right? Because you are their friend. So
they are biased at times too.
They will be biased.
Yeah.
Yes, they will be biased because they will have their own emotions come into play.
Exactly.
They also won't always give you the best advice, right? Yeah. So when people are upset, friends are upset, I can be upset with you. And then we do things together that necessarily may not be the best option for us at that time. But from a therapist perspective, I come to you unbiased. I come to you with the ability to use my professional training in science and evidence-based science behind it to help you target the way that you, based on who you are, on how you should direct yourself in handling the issue so that it's actually resolved at the end of therapy.
Right.
Not something that's reoccurring. Another thing is that therapists are there to help guide you in the best way possible outside of emotions. So definitely separating the emotions from the thoughts, right? And letting your thoughts helping you train your mind and develop skills that will help you just kind of say, you know what, I can think about this before I feel it. Mm-hmm. And then use that same skill set to deal with problems for the rest of your life, not just situational.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. So if you're listening right now and you have that friend whom you feel is good enough or in the same shoes of a therapist, trust me, that's a wrong impression you've got there.
Yeah.
Number one, your friend will be biased. Number two, your friend tomorrow could have issues with you and use your problems against you.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And I would even add to the point that me as a therapist, I have friends, right?
Yeah.
But I can't give you any therapy because I'm your friend, right? So, yeah, so it applies all across the board the same way.
Right. So a therapist will be a non-judgmental sounding board to you. You can tell them anything you want. They have everything a therapist has everything to lose if they do not act properly, if they do not conduct themselves ethically.
Yes.
Okay. So just take note of that. I believe after you hear, after listening to this program today, you would all have a rethink and understand the importance of having a therapy. You might be going through certain challenges in your relationships. And probably you've been listening to the advice of friends, family members who are not professionals in that area. Trust me, if you keep doing that and your marriage is still not working, it's because you are not doing something right.
Yes.
So I want you to know that today should be the first day of the rest of your life. If you're going through any problems in your homes, seek the advice of professionals. Not friends, not family members. Okay, so thank you for that, Shana.
You're so welcome.
Okay, so now I noticed you also have a background in human resources.
I do.
Yes, can you tell me a bit about that? Okay, was that an earlier part of your career, or is that something you still do?
Okay, well, that was excellent. It's actually a significant piece of who I am.
Okay.
So I've come from a background of always helping people. HR is no different.
Right.
Definitely, I went into the business world just kind of wanting to play the background because I'm always the person that has played the background.
Right.
And just wanting to help from that perspective where I could help people maintain jobs and get jobs, and that would help their livelihoods, which
Right.
definitely rolled over into a different perspective. And I wanted to be a different type of boss. Right. So
Okay.
I worked my way up into being a director of HR where I could actually facilitate and kind of more train, right, managers to be better managers, to
Right.
maintain and stop turnover because of the manager-employee relationship. And that's kind of how I knew that even though I went into that field initially, should have went into therapy.
People manage. Yeah, it is very interesting. It's an interesting it's an interesting sector,
Yeah,
people management, because all you do is just to ensure that people are happy.
yeah, yeah.
There's
And
no
that
better feeling.
there's no better feeling to make sure that they're happy, that they're productive, that they are using their best selves in more than one aspect of their lives.
Right.
So I found myself kind of dabbling into the coaching world where I was trying to make sure that those relationships were positive, right?
Mhm.
So that you didn't come to work and like, oh my God, I hate my boss. And and somehow that allows me that I can't do my job
Yeah.
efficiently. And then if I can't do my job efficiently, then I'm breaking down because then I can't feed my children or I can't
Right.
pay my rent. And so
Right.
it just kind of, it's like I said, it just kind of continued to develop that therapy thing in me that said,
Right.
you know what, get out. But I do still dabble in that. I do.
Okay.
I was connected with a boss for Capricorn Systems, which is an international IT
Right.
firm, who was excellent. Played an excellent role in my ability to do the job that I did, but understand the passions that I have in transitioning. And so I do very much still help him out because he did the same for me. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So how does your husband like you being a therapist? Does he really enjoy that you know too much about?
That's
Yeah,
a really good question. How does he think about it?
yeah, because basically you know so much about this topic, marriage.
Marriage and all of that. You know what? It's funny that you say that because I actually, I don't think he thinks anything, to be honest, because I try my best. I'm conscious,
Right.
intentional, and not necessarily applying the outside perspective to what's happening inside, right? Because each couple is different. They come
Right.
with a different situation.
Right.
And so that same aspect applies to me and my husband as well, right?
Mhm.
So, but I do apply the ability to be intentional, to be conscious, to
Yeah.
be aware, to be present, right? So that I can give him whatever emotional support he has, or when he's not feeling up his 100% self. I notice those things more definitely
Yeah.
than I would have noticed prior to being a
Right.
therapist. Definitely.
Right. That makes sense, because it's not, normally it's not easy when you have a wife who knows the
Yeah.
100%, and as a guy, there's no possibility of you being 100%.
Right. And then, but it's I would say this though, it's no possibility even for me being a therapist at being 100%. And I'll be upfront with that. Like even studying it, even practicing it, and seeing the effects it has on couples that I've helped, right?
Right.
Help resolve solutions and things like that. Everything is so unique. And what happens in my personal life is that my personal feelings are now involved where they're not involved
Right.
as a therapist. So it definitely changes the scope.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that. But one thing I still believe is that the I am sorry from the man will be more than the I am sorry from
from
from the
me, right?
daddy.
So I'll have to take that home and see what he says. He'll probably
Okay.
report back.
Wow. Well, that's a good one. So now there is a difference between a HR person and a recruiter.
It is.
Am I correct?
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It
So
is.
what's the major distinction, the major difference?
The major difference is the HR person is maintaining current human capital, right?
Okay.
I'm mostly dealing with the people that I've already hired,
Okay. Yeah.
and how to keep the business growing with
Right.
the resources that I have.
Right.
Okay, through any initiatives that I may take or do to make sure that we're still viable. The recruiter aspect is to make sure that the business is growing from a talent perspective.
Okay.
So they are the ones that actually need to go out and get new talent.
Right.
So they're not maintaining current talent that they've already received. Their job is to make sure they go out and get new talent.
Oh, okay. So they do the sourcing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one. So for those people who are interested in people management, who are interested in human resources, there is a difference between the HR person and the recruiter. All right, so let's go to the personal side of you.
Okay.
But don't worry. It's not going to be loaded. It's just going to be questions on the surface.
Okay.
Okay, so now as a therapist, or even let's say as an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
how is your work-life blend?
Oh my goodness. I laugh at that because it's another thing that definitely has to be intentional.
Right. 247, right? You work 247. Almost 247.
Yes, almost. Only because as an entrepreneur, you are responsible for your livelihood.
Exactly.
So it does become a little struggle, right? To balance, when should I take off? When should I take off? When should I bypass that opportunity for the sake of my family, for my children, for my sanity, right? So I would say the easiest question to that is self-care. I've definitely done self-care. And I've definitely tried to maintain a schedule. So maintaining a schedule has really helped for me. So if I say that in that schedule that this is the time that I am supposed to stop, right? Then I try
your best to.
I try my best to adhere to that. And that includes my days that I say that I'm going to be off, to be with my family, to be with my husband, to talk with my kids and my grandbaby or whatever the case may be.
You got a grandchild?
I do. I'm 1 year in.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's good genes, honestly, you don't.
I will. I will thank you for that. But yeah, I do have a little grand boy because I have three grown girls. And so me and my husband and I were blessed with this little boy who we are just really loving to death. But yeah, so I want to be intentional at making sure they don't feel left out, right? That they are actually a part of my life and very important. So I definitely stick to maintaining those relationships. So if I'm off on that day, I'm off. And that's just what it is.
Yeah, so if you are listening to this program, trust me, the person I am talking to right now, when you see her, if you are not watching the video, she doesn't look like a grandmom. She looks so young. So I think she would be in a good position to tell you what her secrets are. All right. So even if you don't believe in employing the services of a therapist, I would advise you to try Shana. Just give it a try. Give her a call, reach out to her, and find out what her secrets are. She's been in the industry, she's been married for going to 3 decades. So she has a wealth of knowledge. Okay, Shana. Okay, so what challenges have you encountered from transforming from an employee to an entrepreneur?
I would say the first challenge was actually saying that, you know what, I'm going to depend on me.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to bank on me, right?
Yes.
Basically being able to get over that hump of feeling secure enough that what I was bringing to the table was something that other people would value.
Right.
And I didn't necessarily need to depend on what I was getting on a semi-monthly basis, right? That check that I could depend on, to kind of moving on to losing that security, what we feel like is security, right? And being okay to kind of fathom in that space. And then, as I mentioned earlier, just being able to be an entrepreneur and figuring it out, figuring out the balance of, you still have life, but we're still trying to manage how to get this off the ground.
Right.
And then as well as the support system. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, and I think I'm sure many people can attest to this, we kind of go out and we have these family and we have these friends and we have all these people that's saying that they're rooting for you, and just please call me, let me know if I can do anything to help. And then when you actually get out there, they somehow disappear. Right. So being self-motivated to continue and to push past, even when you don't necessarily have that, being confident enough to kind of depend on your own skills to get out or to seek resources, right? Get educated on things you don't know, so that you don't feel like you're a burden to anybody.
Exactly.
And you're getting the things that you want done.
Right. So that's a good one. Typically I encourage people to not let go of, especially for the young entrepreneurs, those who are just about to start or those who just started. They should never let go of their employment. That job would brings in a check.
Yes. I attest to that. I will agree to that. Yes. And I hear people say, if this is something you really want, you just have to go out there.
Oh, no.
You just go out there and just do it and
go out there and burn.
But that's not reality, right? That's not reality. And in so many ways, it's almost not sane if you know that your situation requires something. So, being able to be a multitasker in the way that I can build a business, but I can either maintain a part-time job that will alleviate, because it's so much stress that you face in trying to build a business, right? There's so many resources, not just financial, but other things that will require your attention to be successful. And to add the next piece that you can't somehow pay your bills.
Yeah, that's even worse. That could send someone to an early grave.
Yeah, and it also makes people not continue to pursue their thoughts or emotions or whatever their desires are to being entrepreneurs, because they like, you know what, I got to give it up because I got to go back to my job because I can't pay my bills. So it's important. Yeah,
because no one gave them the right advice.
No.
So the paycheck has to be coming from somewhere while you're grinding. For the business. Yeah, that's a good one. Very important. That's very important to those of you listening who are thinking of, starting your own business. Please do not let go of that job that brings the paycheck.
Yeah.
All right. So, can you give our listeners some tips on how to improve communication in their relationships? I know we initially talked about being intentional.
Yeah, and being intentional, when it comes to communication, is being an active listener.
Okay.
Right? An active listener means that you're present, that you're hearing everything that's said, and that means not preluding the conversation with what you think they will say.
Right.
We do a lot of that, right?
A lot
So
of assumptions.
yeah, yeah. So based on tone, we kind of figure we will kind of prelude the conversation thinking that somebody's automatically about to say something that puts us under attack or something of that nature. So it's really important to be an active listener, to listen to what's being said, not what you think you heard.
Right.
And in response, responding to actually what was said. Right. So that the other person is able to receive that information. A lot of times we just kind of don't do that. We don't pay attention to our audience.
Right.
And therefore we may use words or say things in a certain way that person will receive it, not in how you intentionally gave it out, but in how they receive it. So you have to kind of be intentional on not only what you hear, but how you respond and what you say as well. So that's tip number one.
Okay.
I say tip number two is to have some compassion. We always want to remove or intentionally try to remove hurt and pain from conversations, right? So I want to definitely leave feeling heard, but I don't want to leave feeling hurt.
Yes.
So I think that is also an important part of how we communicate, because if I'm feeling hurt, it technically affects other conversations that we have in the future.
Exactly. From the beginning.
Yes, it does.
That's true. So yeah, I'm glad you are a lady, so I can ask you this question.
Okay.
Do ladies ever, can a man ever satisfy a lady in a relationship? Because I know ladies always expect a very high, they always set a very high bar.
Okay.
Can a guy ever completely 100% satisfy a lady? Please just be honest with me.
Okay, so I have to say yes. Okay. So, and the reason why I say that is because a lot of our, just in general, not just ladies, but men too, satisfaction comes in learning ourselves, right? And what makes us, what gives us satisfaction.
Right.
And a lot of our satisfaction also comes from us, right? It's something that I do and something, so it's only a portion of who I am that needs to be satisfied by the man that I'm with.
Right.
Right.
Not everything.
Okay. Yeah. It's not So 100% of me and what satisfies me is not all dependent on my husband.
Okay.
Right. So my husband does play a significant part in my life, but the basis of what definitely makes someone satisfied is something that you, for one, have to learn. Right. So what are those bases that you just absolutely need to be satisfied, and everything else is icing on the cake.
Right.
Right. So if you just give me the cake part, then I'm good.
Okay.
And so, and it's so funny that you say that, because me and my husband had a conversation one day about, he was saying the pressure, and this was earlier on in our relationship, that when we're having a conversation and I'm talking about all these things that I want and I want us to build and these goals and all of this, he had the pressure to somehow make that happen.
Right.
Right. But, and when actually after he said that, I was like, honey, no, that's not what I thought. I didn't think that you and you alone, were going to somehow impede in my thoughts and make all of this happen for me, versus just kind of hearing me, being supportive was the satisfaction part. Not that I needed you to always take action. So yeah, so sometimes just knowing that part, is she just talking, about all the things that she wants to do?
Pay attention.
Yeah, paying attention is important.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys are listening out there, because this is a key point, and it's coming out from a lady's mouth. So, and for the fact that she has said it, it means to a large extent, if we can fulfill that obligation of paying attention, we would have a headway.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Okay. All right, that's a nice one. So, Shana, are you on all social, I wouldn't say all, what social media platforms are you on? Just
Okay,
in
so
case.
I'm definitely not on all. I'm not 100% great with social media, right?
Okay.
So I am on Instagram. So
Okay.
it's at Imperfect Balance on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook.
Okay.
Same thing, Imperfect Balance. So I do most of my things in those two platforms. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn where
Okay.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
connected, and then just multiple other platforms as far as when it pertains to therapy. So I'm in Psychology Today, and then of course, I have my own website and things that I do as well. And
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So, for those of you listening, you can look her up on any of those platforms you just mentioned. Her name is Shana Trimble, and the name is currently being displayed on the screen. For those of you listening via podcast, it's Shana, Shana. That's her first name, Trimble, Trimble.
yes,
Yes, so once again, Shana is a marriage and family therapist. She is also a speaker. You could reach out to her and you never can tell. She would be the one to make a difference in your family, like in your marriage. Am I right, Shana?
I hope so.
So, Shana, thank you very much for joining me on the program. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. In fact, I also learned a few things from there.
Good.
They say everything in life is a cliche, but it is when that cliche resonates with your thinking, with your status, that really matters. And for me today, some of those cliches you just mentioned to me resonated with my mind and my thinking. So I will go out there and be a better husband.
Oh, good.
And
Good.
I hope someone else out there who is listening is also feeling the same thing. So thank you for joining me on the program. And I look forward to having you on so many other programs in the future.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, my pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of your day.